So the next topic on Unit 2 is information formats. So students often get confused on this because we now start to get into information formats and information styles, information classification, and it can easily just become lists of information and you can't remember what's a style and what's a format and what's a classification. So formats are to do with the way information is formatted, so how it's presented, usually on the World Wide Web. And we've got a list here of various different formats that the data can be shown to people. So usually it's not just raw facts and figures. This is information that's been put into a specific format so it works on a specific web technology. So if we have a look here, okay, we can see we've got web pages. Now, information is formatted on a web page, so we do have information types on that page because we will have things like graphics, we will have things like maybe animations, text. So, we might have RSS feeds. The way that these bits of information are formatted is the way it's presented on the web page. So we've got the web pages themselves and the way information is formatted on that actual web page, such as, is it just flat and static, just as text and pictures, or is it more dynamic, like a quiz or an animation or a game? We've got blogs, we've got podcasts, which are usually audio based. We've got streamed audio and streamed video. So we have radio shows, iPlayer, Netflix, things like that. We have social media channels. Information is formatted on social media channels in a specific way that's usable for that social media channel. We also have things like document stores. Sometimes these are just online areas where you can go and grab documents and upload and download and just share documents with other people. And RSS feeds such as news headlines, and just here you can see there's RSS feeds from the Met Office, and you can get your browser or your usually your podcast player or you'll have some kind of RSS reader. And that will, send information to you as it becomes available on severe weather warnings in the UK and across different regions. And there's also feeds for news releases and, various bits of data from the Met Office just there. So we're interested at this point in what these different information formats are, and what's an advantage of using these, and what are maybe some of the disadvantages of using these. So obviously, some of the advantages of web pages and document stores and streaming video for individuals is to do with how easy it is to access that information in terms of the speed, the amount that you can access, the fact that they are 24/7 available. Large amounts of information can be shared across the internet very quickly on these formats very quickly. And the example they give there is a charity website who can accept donations on their web pages 24 hours a day. You don't have to just wait till some person shakes a tin in front of you in the town centre. But sometimes these formats have disadvantages. So using these can, lead to potential identity theft. There's a cost in connecting to the internet. There's a cost of the device. For organizations, threats from hackers, from viruses, from ransomware, and there's the cost of maintaining the streaming video website, the streaming audio website. There's the time that you have to put into making the podcasts and the videos. There's the cost of maintaining the website, of continually updating these data stores so that they're no longer out of date. And in terms of accessibility, some people access video much better than writing, just purely because maybe they're dyslexic or they don't read particularly well, or English isn't their original language. Or if your hearing isn't very good, using things like podcasts, well, that's not going to be great if you can't hear it particularly well. But streamed video with subtitles is a brilliant information format. So you need to kind of think about what these formats are, what they get used for, why they're useful for individuals, why they're useful for organizations, but maybe what's not advantageous about them for different organizations and for individual citizens. So this really is all about the different ways that information is formatted and placed on the World Wide Web so that it is accessible for different people, different businesses, different organizations. So here's a question that appeared on the sample exam paper around this whole topic of information formats. So you can see it tells us at the top there, it relates to a case study on Progress Vision. It tells us the current Progress Vision website is very basic. It uses static web pages and contains 4 information styles: text, graphic, animated graphics, video. Progress Vision plans to make enhancements to its website. This aim is to raise awareness of the charity's work and to increase its donations. The enhanced website will use dynamic web pages instead of static web pages. Explain one reason why they would use dynamic web pages. And that's a 2-mark question. And then for 4 marks, the current website uses a limited range of information formats. Identify 2 additional formats that could be used to enhance the website, justifying each of your choices. So we can see straight away they are getting us to think about what's the difference between static and dynamic web pages, and do we know what these information formats are and which ones could be used on a website to enhance that website and make it, a bit more interesting, a bit more dynamic. So let's have a look at the answers. So why would Progress Vision use dynamic web pages? It's a 2-mark question, but we only need to give one reason. Okay, so, and the marks awarded: a correct identification plus 1 mark for a valid explanation of that. And what they're suggesting is it's easier to update across multiple pages because each web page is going to be separate. It's simpler for non-technical people to update the content because various parts of the page are all separate, and the content creator doesn't need to know HTML in order to create a new page or article for the website. A couple of suggestions for the different information formats. So it's a mark, again, if we see here, a mark for each identification and up to a maximum of 2, and then a further mark for justifying those different types of information format. So some of the things they suggest you could talk about are blogs, because that will allow field workers to maybe share details of their work with the public who are interested in maybe finding out what's going on with the charity. Educational resources could be added to the system, maybe in document stores, for example, to help the schools become a bit more involved. You could have a discussion board to allow the charity to answer questions asked by people, and anything else that's a sensible suggestion from the list of information formats that is listed down here. So you could have mentioned podcasts or links to the social media channels, document stores, RSS feeds. Any of those would have picked up a mark on there because they're all suitable for use on a web page. So for this, you really need to kind of know what the information formats are. You need to understand what's good about them and what's maybe not so good about them, and then think about in terms of individual users, members of the public, and the organizations and businesses themselves, and how they use them and why they use them and what makes them maybe good and not so good formats in the particular context that they're in.